Identifying numbers that are perfect squares. Which of these numbers are perfect squares? For these examples, let's assume we cannot use a calculator. For 8, we know that 3 times 3 is 9, which is 1 off of 8, and therefore 8 cannot be a perfect square. For the next example, we know that 3 times 3 is 9, which means 3 squared is 9, and therefore 9 is a perfect square. For 50, I know that 7 times 7 is 49, which is 1 off of 50, and therefore 50 cannot be a perfect square. For 196, I'm really not sure, so I'll take a guess. I'll go with 13 times 13 and see how close I get. So 13 times 13, 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 1 is 3. Then, since the 1 is in the tens column, I'll put a 0 first. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 1 is 1. 39 plus 130 is 169. It's pretty far off, so we'll try 14 times 14. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. 0. 1 times 4 is 4, and 1 times 1 is 1. Add them together. 56 plus 140 equals 196, which is the exact number. Therefore, 14 squared equals 196, and 196 will be a perfect square. For 225, again, I'm not sure which numbers will work, so I'll try 15 times 15. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. Put a 0. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 1 is 1. 75 plus 150 is 225, which is the same number. Therefore, 15 squared equals 225, so 225 is a perfect square. For 261, again, I'm not sure, so we'll try 16 times 16. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Place a 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Add them together. 96 plus 160 is equal to 256. 256 is very close to 261, but not quite there, so therefore 261 is not a perfect square. And for 289, I'll try 17 times 17. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. Place a 0. 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 1 is 1. Add them together. 119 plus 170 equals 289, which is the number. Therefore, 17 squared equals 289, and it is a perfect square. Now we'll try this one more time. This time we'll assume we do have a calculator. So if you have a calculator, you type the number into your calculator and then you push the square root sign. So 8 square root. And if you don't get a whole number, it is not a perfect square. So 2.82 is not a perfect square. For the next number, type in 9, push the square root button, and you get a whole number, which is 3, and therefore it is a perfect square. For 50, type in 50, push the square root button, and you get 7.07. Therefore, it is not a perfect square. For 196, type in 196, push the square root button, you get 14. Therefore, 196 is a perfect square. Next, type in 225, push the square root button, and you get 15. So 225 is a perfect square. Type in 261, push the square root button. You have 16.15. Therefore, 261 is not a perfect square. And finally, type in 289, push the square root button, you get 17, and therefore 289 is a perfect square.